Frost with all your heart. Sometimes when we love someone like that, we do the wrong things.
Where's Caitlin? Need a doctor.
If you're not Caitlin or Frost, who are you?
No more going rogue.
All that for this, huh? Sure it was worth it because I'm kind of, running out of boomerangs. Hello?
Creepy.
Oh, no, that's what I'm talking about. Fine. What's our next move?
Not what. Who? The Flash is never truly alone. But once I'm done with him, he will be.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. I got a lot of requests to do a new Flash video because it is the final season, so I'll explain what's going on. Obviously, Red Death is like the big villain that they're hyping up. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs here. I know there's lots of questions with all the different storylines, so I'll explain what's going on. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Because it's a Super Bowl this weekend, there's going to be a bunch of trailers. The Flash movie trailer is also going to be dropping new footage. I'll do a video for that as well, too. It'll be a good weekend. There'll be a lot of Flash-related stuff happening this year just because the Flash movie, they're going to reboot the big DC universe. I'll explain that too because James Gunn did say that they're using the Flashpoint twist, which they already did on the Flash TV show, to reboot all of DC movies. We've been theorizing they were going to do that for a long time now. Sure is a nice timeline. Be ashamed if someone messed that up. Where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, that's right, on the Flash TV show. That was like one of the themes of the first 3 seasons of the show. Gonna be real weird if Grant Gustin doesn't have some kind of cameo or John Wesley Shipp, just hoping for a couple small cameos in the Flash movie when they're crossing through the multiverse. Just to start with the big stuff here, obviously Red Death, huge character, fusion of Batman and the Flash, but from a much darker timeline. The Flash showrunner explained a little bit about how they're adapting the Red Death storyline because in the comics it's basically a fusion of Batman from the dark multiverse who's taken the Flash's powers and combined them with his own using the cosmic treadmill that he's fused with his Batmobile. Like, it was a really crazy origin story, really cool storyline a couple years ago. But it was a much bigger part of the Dark Knight's Metal storyline. And there were a couple major storylines that the Flash showrunner teased that they had planned on developing had the show gone to season 10. I'll explain those later too, because some of the Easter eggs from earlier seasons led up into that. Originally, the Red Death was meant to be one of the nightmare versions of Batman. Like, you have a bunch of different versions basically from the dark multiverse taking the powers of the major Justice League heroes, and Red Death was just like the version of the Flash, the twisted version of the Flash. But on that Earth, Batman had turned evil. That was the whole twist. It was a bunch of evil versions of Batman taking the powers of the heroes. What they tease with this version of Red Death is that it seems like it's from either an alternate dark future timeline or an alternate Earth. And in the earlier trailers, the Flash is talking about how they're trying to construct a time travel device. And it sounds like that's tied to the storyline from episode 1, where Barry's really excited for his future notebook. It's basically like a book of spoilers where he has everything that's going to happen in the future written down so that they can follow like a plan and avoid all the bad stuff. Obviously, the minute that someone whips that out in an episode, you know they're going to change the timeline. They had the crazy Groundhog's Day twist in the episode, but Iris also said that she didn't want the future notebook, which is basically the show telling you that they're not going to be following the notebook, which is why he burns it at the end of the episode. Setting up the whole idea that the timeline will eventually change, and all the things that Barry thought were going to happen aren't going to happen in the same way, or happen at all. And it sounds like it has something to do with the big Red Death twist. Like, Red Death is trying to construct a time travel device and change the timeline so that something different winds up happening in the future. And as part of this scene, you see Red Death giving all this advanced hypertech, advanced weapons to the new version of Captain Boomerang. During the episode, they wonder how he got such advanced technology. It's probably just future tech, and it probably means Red Death is from an alternate future. The Flash showrunner said that they're not doing the exact same Dark Knight's Metal storyline. Obviously, that got really crazy. There were a whole bunch of Justice League characters. This version of Red Death is meant to be a fusion of Batwoman with an alternate future version of the Flash, or somehow has gotten Speed Force powers. And it just sounds like she's from a dark future timeline and she's trying to change that. And as part of that, she's commandeered a bunch of Flash rogues and is using them to construct a bunch of technology that she'll use to construct a time travel device. I don't know if the Red Death storyline is supposed to last all season, because the way the Flash has been organized the past couple of seasons is they divide major villains up in chunks of episodes. So like they'll do a bunch of episodes with one villain, then move on to the next one. But for instance, characters like the Reverse Flash, they'll bring back multiple times during the season. So they might do the same thing with the Red Death character, like that might be something they finally resolve in the finale. They are bringing back Matt Letcher as a version of Eobard Thawne. They are bringing back Eddie Thawne, so there are a bunch of other big twists that they'll introduce in future episodes. In the trailer footage, Flash is talking to Chillblaine after the events of episode 1 where he found the new version of Caitlin Snow, Killer Frost. They used the cryogenic chamber at the end of season 8 to try and bring her back using vestiges of her left inside Caitlin. In an earlier season, they used a twist to separate her personality, so they were like two separate bodies. One was regular Caitlin Snow with a regular personality, the other was just meant to be Frost. They stopped calling her Killer Frost, and they just started calling her Frost. Then earlier in season 8, she sacrificed herself to kill Deathstorm by absorbing him. And speaking of Deathstorm, since he was like the Black Lantern version of Ronnie Raymond Firestorm during Blackest Night in the comics, the Flash showrunner just revealed that they had originally planned on doing Blackest Night during Flash Season 10, had the show gone for another season. I think early on when they were developing the show, everybody had theories about the big storylines that they would eventually do. Blackest Night was always on the table, like, oh, maybe at some point they'll do a version of Blackest Night across the Arrowverse, just because it was such a big comic book event. It sounds like the Arrowverse version of Blackest Night would have been related to Diggle's Green Lantern ring, and they would have incorporated more Green Lantern stuff into the series. And they did have a version of Hal Jordan on the show in Arrow Season 4, Episode 1. So there is a Hal Jordan in the Arrowverse. It was kind of the same way they had a Bruce Wayne Batman in the Arrowverse, but there were all kinds of crazy rules about how they were allowed to use the character, because at the time, they had all these crazy movie plans for the bigger characters. Obviously, the big James Gunn DC reboot, all those plans have changed now. I just did a huge video for that, so I'll link it at the end of this and down in the description below. They are doing a big Green Lantern HBO series, but they said it's going to be more like True Detective inside the DC universe with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart set on Earth.
Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU.
And they'll be uncovering a mystery that'll have something to do with their next big Justice League team-up movie. It sounds like that was one of the reasons why they changed all their Diggle Green Lantern plans. When you see the new character in the trailer picking up the violin case and fighting what seems like the Pied Piper in the rain, if you couldn't tell, she's holding a violin like a fiddle, marking her as the new Fiddler character. So it sounds like episode 2 is going to be a big Fiddler versus Pied Piper episode, because you see Pied Piper asking for Caitlin, like, I need a doctor, somebody help me. The Fiddler is a longtime Flash rogue. The last time we saw the character was during season 4 as the Izzy Bowen version of the character. I'm assuming they're using the big multiverse reboot during Crisis on Infinite Earths to say that this person became the Fiddler in the new timeline. The same way they used the big multiverse reboot to reimagine a lot of Flash rogues with new versions or younger versions or the children of the previous rogues. Some of them are old actors coming back, like some of them they haven't changed that much. Some are children of the previous rogues who've just taken up the mantle, and some of them are just flat out brand new versions. But in most cases, they're trying to base most of them on comic book versions, and that's just par for the course for the Flash rogues in the comics over the last 50, 60 years.
The reason I tracked you down and groomed you to be the best you could possibly be, Axel. I am your father.
They've explained a little bit about what's going on with the Killer Frost Caitlin hybrid now. She's supposed to be a good character and help the team during the season, especially in the finale. Like, she's supposed to have something really big that she'll do to help them in the last episode. That might have something to do with the Red Death storyline. It just depends on how long they keep that character around. Because the Flash died in each timeline and restarted the timeline when he died, it made it seem more like the episode was inspired by the ReZero anime. Like the Flash got the main character's return from death ability. It's a great anime series if you haven't seen it before, but I'm assuming it was more inspired by Groundhog's Day, just because they tend to go with bigger pop culture references. The other small Easter egg in the background here too, there's another Batman Easter egg if you didn't spot it. The Krakatoa Club, where you see the new Fiddler fighting Pied Piper, is actually a Batman villain, or the name is taken from a Batman villain who looks kind of like Molten Man. They kind of had a version of Molten Man in episode 1, but it was like a hallucination that Barry was having. Speaking of Batman and TV series, they actually did just release a teaser for the new Batman HBO series based on the Penguin character. Matt Reeves is doing a bunch of Batman HBO series spin-offs of the Robert Pattinson Batman series. They actually already started filming the series, so I'm assuming it'll take them all year to finish it, and they'll air episodes next year. It's supposed to take place between the events of the Batman movie and the Batman Part 2. They're just calling the second Batman movie Batman Part 2 right now. I'll probably do a much bigger video about that later this weekend because it does seem like it's going to be really cool. Colin Farrell has been hyping it up big time. If you have any questions or big requests, just leave them in the comments below. There's a bunch of big stuff happening this week. Make sure you enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss it. Everyone click here for that brand new Flash movie trailer with a bunch of new footage, and click here for that new Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania video to learn why Kang started the multiverse war in the first place. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.